Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Sid Pure. I'm Senior Solution Architect at Databricks. And with me, I have Harish, who is Solution Architect at Databricks as well. We both work in retail and consumer goods, and we are very close with all the different use cases, different customers we are having. So we wanted to go over how you can build AI/BI Genie spaces, and there are a couple of things on agenda. Uh, at high level, we'll talk about what are the traditional BI challenges. We'll go over architecture of Genie in the backend. We'll cover the demo, and demo also include Databricks apps, and we will deep dive into a couple of RCG use cases and the architecture. And then we can talk about what is next. We will have some time allocated at the end for any questions, but if the session is over, feel free to grab us outside if you have any questions. Now, let's jump into the challenges. So before we even talk about the challenges with the traditional BIs, let's think about how the data is coming into Databricks or your environment where you are gathering all the data. So data can come from different places. It can come from sales. It can come from CRM. You might be getting some customer data coming in. And when all those data is coming in, there are always issues around integration. Data can be inconsistent and there could be a data quality issue. Now, when you are loading all those data before your BI tools, most of the time, what we tend to do is do the batch processing. And with batch processing, many of the time people will end up waiting for BI reporting. Now, BI tools are great. They have many capabilities. You can build dashboard and charts, but there are chances that you need some technical help when you are building some reports and dashboard. You need somebody who understands the data and builds something for you. As an example, let's say I am a sales analyst. I am reviewing the BI report built for me, and if I want to add a new column which helps me to identify my different territories, it is not quick thing because everybody work in different organization knows that we follow the change management process, and that change management process can take couple of days even to include a column in your report which is already available within your data. Now, with so many challenges with your traditional BI, and if you want to build LLM onto your traditional BI, you will be working with pre-built semantic models, right? So all the questions you are asking to your BI or your LLM are limited to what is in the semantic model. And the questions you are asking and the queries are generated, even if you build, let's say, text to SQL model, it will be limited to the semantic model. And if you want to do any changes in your semantics or within your data, or if you want to have a follow-up questions on the dashboard, it is very hard. So we are working closely, as I mentioned, with many retailers and consumers, and these are the top use cases we have found across. So let's take an example of customer insight and segmentation, right? So what happens is marketing team wants to understand the customer behavior, how customers are purchasing your products, and using those things they want to build marketing campaign targeting to the audience so they can grow the product, they can grow the revenue, they can grow the sales. But if the report doesn't have the latest data, and if you cannot do a deep analysis on your data, and if you are just dependent on some chats, then it will be harder to build a campaign quicker. Another example is financial health analysis, where you are working in finance team. So finance team usually have to work with lots of revenue information. Now that revenue information can come via some database table, right? There could be some app, but at same time, many of the places people still maintain all those data into CSV and Excels. So integrating everything and building insight for your finance becomes harder. Now, when we work with Genie Spaces or AI BI, think about how you can modernize your BI with the AI. So we spoke about a couple of challenges, including pre-built semantic model, longer time to get into insight. This moderning BI with AI will help you to build something which is continuously learning from your data, your semantics are up to date, you have good control and guidance and oversight on your data, and at the same time, it is secure. Now, this is all good, right? But then what are the capabilities we think in AI can help BI users? At, there are a ton of capability, but couple of those I like is natural language interaction. If people are taking longer time to write SQL queries, then it is going to take longer time to reach to your analysis. So that is where enabling people to ask question in natural language helps to get to the insight quicker. Now, I also mentioned when I started with the discussion that you need some technical help when you are building reports, right? So if we can reduce that technical gap and enable business user to ask question in English and then get result based on their question and do a better text to SQL conversion in the backend, you can do a real-time data analysis, and that helps a lot telling your data stories. So you don't want, so when you are telling your story, let's say you're to your VP or to your boss about, let's say, your finance report, you just don't want to present some chart. You need to have some story. You need to have answers for questions around why I am seeing this data, what is happening in specific region, what is happening with my sales territory. Um, and when you are doing those, you also need something which is learning continuously and you can see the improvement continuously. So Jenny can do magic, but what about governance? I hope all of you have attended keynotes today, and having governance within AI plays very important role. So let's talk a little bit about how Genie works in backend. Many of the time, so I was working on a DevOps booth yesterday for AI, BI, and apps, and many people ask me this question: okay, how Genie works in the backend? So the ideal flow is user ask a question which is in natural language. Unity catalog has understanding about the metadata. It understands what are those different columns, and people are smart enough also to add some documentation. So those documentations are combined with instruction. If you ask me what is instruction, I can say it's prompt. So when you work with any chatbot, you add some prompt. So those prompt and instruction get combined, and then it is sent to the backend AI model, which converts text to SQL, and those SQL are executed on the SQL warehouse. Now, when we are doing all those things, security is maintained. So Genie always checks, okay, what are the authentication user has, how it is interacting to the SQL warehouse, and when you are doing everything, all the data is encrypted, so that way you are not, uh, your data is not going out of your environment. Now, this is all good. So let me hand it over to Harish. He can walk over through a couple of AI Genie capabilities and also the demo.
Perfect. Thanks, Sid. So now that we have seen the architecture on how Genie works and what's under the hood, let us look at some of the capabilities that makes it effective for a BI user. Um, the basic premise of Genie is that it is built on a system called as compound AI architecture. What that means is it has specialized models that is trained for SQL generation based on the language that you talk, the English sentences that you write, and also combine that with models for data visualization. So when the user asks for an question, the answer is almost instantaneous with relevant table information and visual insights for that question. And Genie also goes all the way to tailor the content specific to the question that you're asking. So Genie has information around the data definitions that are specific to your business, the business terminologies, and the context in which you're asking the question. And then it customizes the response to make it easy to understand for you and very relevant for the question that you're asking. For example, a sales manager could ask, what was my week over week sales report, right? So that terminology of week over week can be taught to Genie, and then it can learn from it and then give you relevant answers. And then there is this concept of trusted results. Just like if you want some question answered in your company, you would go to the person who's an expert on that field and ask that question, right? Similarly, Genie has a concept where you can certify answers. So if there is an expert on the field, if the question keeps coming up, you can register it as a certified answer. And then when the response comes back, it will come with a flag saying that it's certified. Then the user can trust the results, right? And if a user has question, or if they are not fully trusting the responses, they can flag that for expert review also. So when they flag it, it pops up on the monitoring dashboard, and then the experts can go review it and then certify the answer, so that next time when someone else asks the same question, they'll get a certified response. And we've also recently introduced this feature of file uploads, where you can upload a structured file like a CSV on the Genie chat window itself. And that lets you expand your analytics to ad hoc analysis. Let's say that you have your set of tables, and then you get a weekly sales report from a third-party vendor in the email this morning. You could just save that CSV file and then upload it to Genie, combine that information with the tables that is already existing on the Unity catalog, and do your downstream analysis to them. And the key feature of Genie is the continuous learning. So Genie gets smarter over time. So it uses the questions that you're asking and the follow-up questions it asks for clarity, and then combines that with all the data definitions, and it becomes smarter over time. So with every question, every feedback that you give for the response that Genie is presenting, it learns from that, and it becomes smarter and more familiar with your business terminologies as the usage increases. And like Sid mentioned, all these things are built on top of Unity catalog, so you get that inherent security with Genie. So in order to use Genie, you need to have access to the underlying tables. So just because someone has access to a chatbot, they cannot ask anything and get the information. It validates in multiple stages. You need to have access to the Genie room, and then you need to have access to the underlying tables to get a response from the Genie. Right. Um, and generative AI is getting adopted in retail in a big way. And if you look at some of the common use cases in retail, we can classify into 4 common buckets. The first bucket is where every company starts their Gen AI journey. Mostly, it's like the hello world of Gen AI. It will be a RAG agent on top of a PDF, where something like an employee handbook, where you can just query and get responses to employee policies. Or it could be for associate onboarding handbook, where you want associates to ramp up quickly on training materials. Or it could be the internal policy documentations, where you just keep the policy updated all the time, and then the RAG fetches and then responds to questions, which generally cuts down on the time you have to wait for answers for some experts to email or something like that, and it drives efficiency. Then the second category, where people are progressing towards, is improving the efficiency. These are use cases like store manager agent, where people on the plant floor for an industry, or a floor manager on a retail industry, can have some handheld headsets where they can just ask questions on the availability of a product in the store, which aisle it is in, and combine that with product manuals to understand how the product operates, or information regarding a customer, and those sorts of things, right? And then the third stage is virtual agents, where the Gen AI agents are capable of doing the task for you. This can be like call center agents, where most of the work is now handled by the agents itself, and only in case of escalation it goes to a human. Most of the answers are just being upfront when the user asks for it. Or it could be something like a market image creation, or enhancing personalization specific to the user. And then final category is where there is an AI-enabled innovation, where you use Gen AI to ideate new product concepts, which goes into from the stage of just using Gen AI to help with your productivity, to using Gen AI to create something new for you, right? So this is the try me on apparel, where you can try new dresses on a virtual environment. Generative AI can generate concepts and things like that. And while Genie cannot help with all the use cases that we commonly see in retail, it can help with most of them. and that is highlighted here. Or should I just rephrase? While Genie cannot help with most of the use cases yet, it can help with some of them here that is called out. So Genie is really good at going and retrieving information that is stored in your enterprise data warehouses and combining that with other agents to give response and answers to use cases. Right. So far we have seen the Genie's capabilities, and we also saw all the use cases that retailers are doing and what you can build with Genie. And now let us see some of the deployment patterns. How are people adopting Genie on the retail? What do we see on the field, right? The first pattern is just using Genie spaces. This is the vanilla thing, where you will have data domain experts who are familiar with the data that your organization is using, and then they build the Genie spaces by giving instructions, and then they add sample queries, and then you usually roll it out to a small group of employees within the organization. They test it out, provide feedback on the responses. Genie learns, and it becomes smarter over time. And then you share the link for other users to consume. For this mode, it's plain vanilla. People have to just log in into their Databricks console and then use the Genie spaces that you have designed, and then they'll be able to get the answers. And then once you have built this, the whole goal of Genie is for democratizing data. Right? You want the data to be accessible from everyone in the front line to the C-level executives, right? So in order to do that, you need to take the data to them. If you ask them to log into Databricks environment, it's not going to work most of the cases. So you would want to embed Genie intelligence into the applications that people are already using today. So that is where the APIs come into play. So Genie has API capabilities that you can use to integrate into your applications that you're already having today, right? It could be a customer 360 dashboard or a marketing campaign dashboard that you already have, and you might want to add this Genie intelligence to that, right? When someone asks, why is my sales dropping? Then it has to go fetch the relevant information, combine that with other data, and then tell you what's happening, right? So that's the second stage where people are progressing. They leverage the Genie APIs, and then you can get the Genie space and then embed that into your mobile application or web applications that you're using, or dashboards also for that matter. Right. Now let's just quickly jump into a demo of these two deployment models, and then we'll come back, talk about one more deployment model, and then I'll hand back to Sid for talking about real world use cases. So for this demo, we are going to do two things. One is we will set up a vanilla Genie. We'll take a data set up a Genie space on it, and then we will teach Genie on what the data set is about, and then we'll see how Genie becomes smarter with our instructions and guidance. And then that will be the Genie space 2. And then we'll use both these Genie, and then we'll deploy them in an app. That is the second pattern that you saw on the deployment model on integrating Genie to your own application. Right, this is our demo environment. So for this demo, what we have taken is a subset of the data sets from the customer 360 application. So if you see here, we have the customer table, which has the customer PII information. It has the customer ID, the name, age, gender, phone number, email address, and all those things. And then we have the customer reviews table, which has all the product reviews that the customer has done for different products that they have bought. And then you have the interactions. This will be anything from a support interaction that the customer had to the product clicks, what have they added in the cart, and those sorts of things. And then you have the support cases that the customer has created with uh, the support team, and then the transactions. What did the customer buy? What product did he buy? Did he or she buy? And what category it fell into, right? So this is our data set today. And in order to start Genie fresh from the data set, two things are very important. One is that your data set should be very relevant to the Genie space that you're trying to create. Just because you can click, you don't want to add 20 different tables on a Genie space and let the AI figure it out itself, right? That's why we need domain experts. We need to pick and choose what is relevant for that space. Why this is needed is because it will shorten the learning curve that Genie needs to learn about the data. If you just throw everything, it'll struggle to find the relationship. Eventually, it'll get there, but it'll be a long process. But so you need more concise data and more relevant data to that Genie space in the Genie rooms. And then the second important thing is the description. So you have the table description here, and you have the column descriptions also here. This is how Genie understands what's in the table and what column it should combine to give you the results. If you don't give it, Genie will try to make guesses using the table names, which you don't want. Again, the whole goal is to shorten the learning curve. And if you have hundreds of tables, how do I update the definitions, description, and all those things? There is this Databricks assistant capability that you can use to auto-generate the descriptions of the tables and columns that you want to use. It will come up with its own description, and then you can add prompts to refine it, or you can correct it and then save it. But these are the two key important things before you get started with Genie. You need relevant data, and then you need descriptions around those tables that you're going to be using. And then you can create Genie space on two ways. One is there's a top right corner. You can just click Genie space here and be done with it, or you can just navigate to the Genie console and then click on new, select all the tables that you want in the Genie room, and just say create. So what you just saw is with few clicks, we were able to just add intelligence to your data, right? You were able to add that RAG kind of an intelligence layer on top of your data set. And so this is your Genie space. This is the deployment model one that we saw in the presentation. On the left is your playground. This is where you can type questions, see how Genie behaves and everything. On the right is all the configurations that you can set on top. So if you see here, this is the data that I've added for the space. These are the tables, and then you can click and see any of the metadata description. If you want to edit it, you can go ahead and do it. If you want to remove any of the data from here, you can just remove, you can add new tables, whatever you want to do from the side. And then you have the instructions. Think of these are like prompts that teaches Genie how to behave, right? You're going to say that you are a sales agent, so respond to only sales question, don't respond to anything else. Or saying that when someone asks for customer information, don't show the email address or phone number and show all the other details. So you're just teaching Genie in plain English on how to behave. So that is instructions. And then you have the SQL queries table, where you can record your SQL example statements, and that will be used by Genie to answer questions. So let us just quickly uh, um, ask some questions and understand. Since I'm very new to this space, I'm just going to ask Genie to explain the data set. Let's see what it comes back with. You can see that it's thinking, and then it gave a response. It just showed us what are the tables that are in this space. And one key call out here is the customer ID column. It says that all these tables are primarily connected to the customer ID column. So it's already able to understand the relationship between the different tables and how they are connected together, right? And then you have some sample questions. You can just try it out here. What are the common issue categories for support categories, sorry, for support tickets, and then you can see in shipping, you get the most ticket, billing, you have some tickets and things like that. And then let me ask, give me the top 10 customers by transaction. And if you see here, it's going to obviously give me the top 10 customers by the purchases that they have made. But one important thing to note here is when I ask the question gets converted into a SQL code, right? And that SQL is executed against your tables, and that is how the results are populated. And if you want to edit the SQL, you can edit it. If you're proficient enough in SQL, you can go ahead and make changes and then save it. Otherwise, we also have the assistant capabilities to help you with editing that SQL. For example, right here, the customer ID and transaction count is coming. I don't know what this ID means. I would ideally want a name of a customer there instead of an ID, right? So I'm going to modify it in the fly. If the answer is relevant, you could say yes and provide a good feedback. Otherwise, I'll just say fix it, and then I'm going to say replace customer underscore ID with full underscore name. So what I've done is that I've asked Genie to modify the response, and from every feedback that you give, Genie is going to learn, and then it's going to change its course. If you see here, yeah, so it gave the full name with it, right? And then you can add this as instruction and just save it, saying that, uh, yeah, okay, it's already there. That's why it didn't come. Okay, so you can just save it as a sample query. Next time when someone asks about the top 10 customers, it will always give it the full name instead of the customer ID, right? So Genie learns from how you define. And then you can add your business terminology also through this. You can say, give me the WOW reports. Uh, and then it might not know what WOW is, and then you can define instructions to say WOW is this, and then it will respond accordingly. In the interest of time, I'll just cut short some of the things. It obviously asks clarifying questions. And then you'll have a monitoring tab where you can rate your queries. Again, this feedback will help Genie learn from all the feedback you are giving, and it becomes smarter over time. And I'll go back to the demo, slides. And one other pattern that we are starting to see in the field is using Genie as a part of a agentic system. So you will have a high-level routing agent where people will come and ask the questions, and then the routing agent will be smart enough to call the Genie agent or another language translation agent or whatever it is as a part of a broader ecosystem. And Sid will cover that in detail in the
No, before we
RCG.
go, can we show app how
Oh,
it looks? Yeah.
yes. Uh, one other deployment pattern that we call is how you can use Genie as a part of your applications. So we have just, Sid and I built a sample app here. The Genie rooms that you saw here are part of the Genie rooms here. This is all powered by uh, Lake apps that Ben GA today. If you see here, we use the Databricks tokens and then call a Genie API and then start a conversation. And every time you enter a chat, it uses that to initiate a conversation and then hold for response and then display in the front end. And this is the high-level app. The benefit of this is that you can have multiple Genie rooms, and then you can use a front-end authentication to determine who is logging into the Genie room. If it's a salesperson, you can just show the sales room. If it's a CEO, you might want to show the revenue room, sales room, and so many other Genies exposed based on their role. All right, I'll hand it back to Sid to cover the RCG use cases.
Oh, that's amazing demo. We have a very short time, so but the app can help you build many things with the Genie, and you must have seen the announcement today. It is GA, so you should be able to use that app. We have cookbooks available on the website, so you can search for Databricks cookbook. Uh, Now let's talk about a couple of use cases quickly. Imagine, if I want to build a sales pipeline visualization. So what it will do is help you to identify what is happening in my each sales stage. And when I'm doing that, I encounter with the challenges like my data is pre-model. I need to have licensing on my BI tools, and many of the time, I need somebody as a super user to build something for me. How Genie helps to do that is with the capability what we showed in the demo, you can connect directly to various tables. But at the same time, imagine that people are also storing all the records in CSV file. So how the architecture will look like? So the architecture will look like where your Genie spaces is connecting to your CRM data where you have all the information about customer. You'll have some sales data, and then you will also enable user to upload CSV files, and then that Genie Spaces can help you answer any question. Now, as we were talking about multi-agent, think about this perspective that if I want to extend this further, and if I'm, let's say, some store operator in Midwest, so I want to understand what is my inventory, what are my sales and customer services, how my cash is flowing, and how I can do the promotion for my products, right? And here also with traditional BI, you will end up facing similar challenges where you still need somebody with skill gap and somebody and overall the reporting will be slower. So how Genie can help, and you can combine agent with that. So Genie will definitely help you to run the questions on, let's say, inventory, and it will give you details about, okay, how my inventory is, where is my inventory, and then on top of that you can combine those with agents. So you can use Genie as one of the agent, and when you try to build that, the architecture will look like this. You can have a Databricks apps connecting to your inventory Genie agent, which is trying to identify, okay, where is my inventory? Imagine your stores are located in multiple locations, so you can have a multilingual support. And at the same time, you also want to understand about your product. You want to know the compliance rule and policies within your store, so you can combine that, show it on the app, and you can have a store operation agent created where building Genie is, anybody can build. And for agent things, as we introduce AI bricks today, most of the people will be able to build that via UI. Now, if I am a finance user, right? The finance user always have challenges where they want to need accurate data. Again, data is siloed, and many of the time, finance team maintain their own Excel sheet. As an example, if I want to calculate, let's say, cost of goods sold, then I will end up going through multiple formulas. So, what will be a natural step for somebody to build the end-to-end system, including Genie, building Genie as an agent, and then combining everything? So what I will do is I will create a finance Genie space which will have finance data. I will have all my calculations stored in Unity Catalog under various functions, and I will also allow user to do manual upload. I will take this Genie space and put it into an agent. So then I will have finance Genie agent. I can still reuse, let's say, if I am from a same department where I have multilingual support, I can also combine that agent. And then one more thing for finance is important, where all your quarterly report are usually on PDF format or some website. So you can build a vector index on those PDF files, combine everything. Everything can run via a supervisor agent within Databricks apps, and then you can give cohesive experience to users. Now, the demos are good, architecture is good. What are the steps to get into production or for success? So we saw how you can build Genie. We saw what are the deployment patterns. What is important is, if when I went through all those use cases and around RCG, I always define Genie with specific scope. So understanding what is the scope for Genie and what are the goals you are having for Genie are very important. You cannot have Genie for, let's say, entire organization. So that is where, even if you build agent, you try to build multi-agent system where you have different agent doing different jobs. Once those are done, make sure you are testing with smaller users, because that is the part of your user acceptance testings. And then iteration is important, because every time user is giving some feedback to Genie, Genie is learning. So having that iteration and then onboarding new user, and then you can further expand to your organization, the Genie space. What else? So the last two things I would like to quickly cover is one, you can use Genie in any collaboration tool. So we have customers who are already integrating Genie with Microsoft Teams. You can integrate Genie within your Slack environment, and then it will be able to answer any question, because many of the time, rather than going and building another app, can you have that thing built within your collaboration tool so people can directly ask questions? And lastly, Genie is also available in dashboard. There is many of the time people have dashboards and they want to know, okay, if you have dashboard map of entire US, and if you want to understand, okay, if you are a product company, how much products are sold within LA area, you cannot ask those questions to map. Having Genie within dashboards, you can ask question directly to Genie room, and then it will be able to tell you, okay, how many products were sold within LA area. Now, to end it out, I want to just summarize what we discussed so far. We discussed about Genie spaces, so enabling BI user on the AI, making data accessible to everybody, making smarter analytics, giving user opportunity to have instant actionable insights, so you can move forward, you can improve your organization productivity, and you can build a compound AI system using Genie and multiple agents. That's it. Thank you.